What is up, guys? This is QRem from the Trinity of Lift, and today I'm going to bring all of you guys my Cyber Angel deck profile for the September 2016 format. Now, keep in mind, guys, that I do say Cyber Angel deck profile rather loosely because we don't have the entire Cyber Angel support yet here in the TCG, and because of that, you do have to still try and run some ritual supplementary cards in this deck to just make the deck run a little bit more smoothly. So, just want to let you guys know that before we jump into the profile, and right now we are just going to jump straight into it, starting off with the main deck as per usual. Now then, to start off all the blue cards, we're of course going to start off with the Angels themselves. We have 3 copies of Ben 10 because by far this is the best one in the deck. Being able to get your engine going by searching fairies whenever Ben 10 is distributed is really nice. And again, she also helps make a lot of your ritual summons not really tank you in card economy. So again, in general, Ben 10 is like the best card in the deck and we always want to see her. So we have 3 copies of her for that. Moving on, we have 2 copies of the Cyber Angel Idaten. Now, Idaten is pretty cool because with the game plan of Cyber Angels, or at least this build of the deck, you're trying to actively win the game. And in order to actively win the game and try and kill your opponent, you really, in my opinion, need Idaten. Idaten is pretty cool because, first of all, as a ritual monster getting summoned, she's pretty cool because she can just simply grab a ritual spell from your grave or your deck. So again, it kind of, helps you make the ritual summon not really tank you in card economy. And whenever Idaten is tributed, you just pump up all of your ritual monsters on the field by 1000 attack and defense. Now, if you only boost, say, like maybe 2 or even 3 ritual monsters already, that's a freaking huge power spike with Idaten's Tribute, which is really strong, and it can just help you win games out of nowhere. So in my opinion, you really have to run Idaten at least somewhat in order to get the benefits from her. Although I do not feel like 3 copies is correct, mainly because you only want to see Idaten when you're intending to use Idaten for a purpose. You really don't want to just draw her out of nowhere without a reason to. So because of that, I felt like 3 copies was really unnecessary. So we have 2 copies of Idaten. Then finally, for the last Cyber Angel, we have 1 copy of Dakini. Now, she's the pseudo boss monster of this deck. I wouldn't really say that she is the boss monster because, in my opinion, like there is no real boss monster of this deck. There's just a lot of strong cards. Dakini being one of them, of course, because she does have the ability to have sending non-targeting removal, which is something you don't really see anymore in Yu-Gi-Oh! And again, it's really cool because she sends the monster to the graveyard, which doesn't trigger any destruction effects, and she doesn't target them either, which again is just a really cool to help you get around big untargetable things like Dark Destroyer. And yeah, she also has a cool Scarm effect at the end phase. It's not really like Scarm, but at the end phase you can just grab a ritual monster or spell from your grave and add it to your hand, which again is helping you keep up that card economy as much as possible. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and that will round up all the Cyber Angels. Moving on, we of course have 3 copies of Herald of Perfection. Now, this isn't a Herald Star Seraph deck by any means, but we still have to run Herald of Perfection because it does give this deck a very good backbone and a really good support to basically stand on its own and to try and give it some competitive edge. And of course, because Cyber Angel, not Cyber Angel, but Herald of Perfection, excuse me, is just such a good card by itself, and its ritual spell is also really strong. So because of that, I feel like you still really have to run Herald of Perfection in this deck because again, it just gives you that solid foundation that you need in order to make the deck work. So we have 3 copies of Herald. Then for the last blue card, we have of course 1 copy of Saphira. Now, I feel like multiple copies of Saphira was unnecessary because you only want Saphira to make your board stronger and essentially to just make your board into whatever you want it to be and to make it just the unbreakable force that you want it. And Saphira by itself is not good, of course, because sure, she is a +1-ish kind of thing on her summon on that turn, but the thing is, you don't really get the true benefit out of Saphira until you have her behind the Herald of Perfection, where you are going to be able to activate Saphira's effect each turn probably, because you will be discarding cards inevitably for Herald of Perfection's effect, and then you'll also be inevitably sending cards from your hand or hand to the grave with your ritual summons. So again, you really don't get the full benefit out of Saphira unless you have a board already, and that's why I feel like multiple copies of it was really not necessary. So that'll be it for all the blue cards. Moving on to the +1s, we have of course the 3 copies of Manju because Herder, this is a ritual deck, Herder, this is Manju. Then we also have 3 copies of Cyber Petite Angel. Now, I was really conflicted over running 2 copies or maybe even 1 copy of this card, but I figured that the reason why you want to run 3 copies is because, of course, it is 3 more copies of any of your Cyber Angel support cards, and it's also the primary target that you're going to be trying to recur off of Ritual Sanctuary. So because of that, I wanted to get that utility part of the field spell a little bit more consistent, so that is why I am running 3 copies of the Petite Angel. Now that'll be it for all of the +1 dudes, and moving on to the final monster, we have 1 copy of Herald of the Orange Light. Now, believe it or not, I actually never knew this card was going to be a good thing for this deck until a friend told me about it. As if you think about it, Herald of the Orange Light is essentially a free recurring level 2 tuner that you can summon each turn if it's in the graveyard when you have Ritual Sanctuary. Now, that's pretty relevant because in this deck, there are actually a lot of cool synchro plays that open up if you have Herald of the Orange Light in the deck. And I'll get into all those big cool plays in the extra deck when I get to there, but just for now, Herald of the Orange Light is just a really, really good level 2 tuner in this deck, and I really would recommend trying out one copy of it because it just puts in so much work. So yeah, moving on to the spells, we have all of our ritual spells. We have 3 copies of Dawn of the Herald because we do run 3 copies of Herald of Perfection. We have only 2 copies of Machine Angel Ritual. Now, I know I said that this still is a Cyber Angel deck at its core, but you really don't need 3 copies of the Angel Ritual spell because you only will basically be summoning 1 Idaten and 1 Dakini per duel usually. Like, there isn't really a time when you will be summoning the Cyber Angels more often than not, and I really feel like 3 copies of the Angel Ritual are going to clog up your hands eventually, so I feel like 2 copies are just a safe choice. Finally, for the last ritual spell, we of course have 1 copy of Hymn of Light because we also have Saphira in this deck. And that will run us off of all of our ritual spells. Moving on to the other spells, we of course have 3 copies of Ritual Sanctuary because this card is freaking broken. Like, the ability to recur back free fairies from your grave when they're done getting used is pretty nice because it just opens a lot of extra deck plays for you. And also unclogging your hands every time you draw this card or draw a way to search this card is pretty freaking nice as well. So we of course have 3 copies of Ritual Sanctuary. We also have 3 copies of Terraforming to search it out. Now, similarly to Revolving Switchyard, you can run 3 copies of Terraforming with the field spell because the extra copies of Terraforming and Ritual Sanctuary can just get pitched for the Ritual Sanctuary's effect. So that's pretty cool, and again, it just keeps your hands stocked with cards, and it doesn't really clog it either, so that's pretty nice. Moving on, we have just 3 copies of the Pre-Preparation of Rites because this card is broken. This card, in my opinion, I like to call this card the Pot of Greed for Rituals because it is a free +1 with 0 drawbacks for this deck, and that's pretty freaking cool. So because of that, of course, we have to have 3 copies of Pre-Prep because it's just such a good card. Then for the one-ofs we have in this deck, we have 1 copy of Preparation of Rites because this is still the OG, this is still really good, and of course I gotta still run 1. We have 1 copy of Instant Fusion, and I'll get to this when I get to the extra deck. I have 1 copy of Pot of Desires because I'm a scrub, and then finally I have 1 copy of Upstart Goblin to round off the spell lineup. Moving on to the traps, we of course have the 3 copies of Solemn Strike and the 1 copy of Warning. Now, the reason why I wanted to run these traps is because even if this deck does run Herald of Perfection, I feel like you don't consistently have a way to make Herald of Perfection really strong in this deck. I know the reason why the Star Seraph Herald deck is really good is because it can fuel its hand with a ton of fairies thanks to the Star Seraph engine. And because this deck is not running the Star Seraph engine, I feel like this deck needs a little bit more help in terms of negation. And so I felt like the Solemns were just a perfect fit because they kind of act as Herald of Perfection negations, but they don't rip a card out of your hand, so that's pretty nice as well. And they, again, just act as another alternative of negation in this deck, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, that'll round us off from our entire 40 card main deck. Moving on to the extra deck, we of course have 1 copy of Fairy Cheer Girl. Now this card is pretty freaking cool because it is just a free level 4 or rank 4 monsters that you can make with 2 fairies, and it just cycles cards out of your hand and draws more of them. So that's pretty cool, and again, it's just a free way to just get free detaches on whenever you do need it and cycles cards out of your hand. So there's nothing really spectacular about the card, but it's just still a solid card in this deck. Moving on, we have 1 copy of Casto and 1 copy of Abyss Dweller. Now, again, these are just good, solid rank 4s. I wish I could run a few more of the rank 4s in this deck, but because of certain cards that I have to run in this extra, there was not a lot of room. But still, Casto and Dweller should usually get the job done whenever you need them. Moving on to the rank 6s, we have, of course, 1 Ptolemy, 1 Gauntlet Launcher, and 1 Utopia Beyond. Now, Ptolemy is in here primarily because we need another way to recur cards out of your graveyard sometimes, so having Ptolemy as an option is pretty good. Gauntlet Launcher is in here because he can really just dismantle boards by himself sometimes. I know Gauntlet Launcher is really, really good against Blue Eyes, because if they make the board something along the lines of like Spirit Dragon and Alternative, Gauntlet Launcher just eats that board up by itself, so that's pretty freaking cool. And Utopia Beyond, again, helps you try and actively win the game. Like I said with Idaten, being able to make all of your opponent's monsters 0 really just gives you that big power spike that you might need to push yourself over the finish line. So that's pretty cool. And then finally, for the last Xyz monster in our deck, we have 1 copy of Daigusto Phoenix, because you do run quite a few level 2s in this deck, so having the option is pretty nice. Moving on to the synchros, and that's where this deck really does get cool. We have one copy of Herald of the Arclight, and we have one copy of Coral Dragon to start it off. Now, these cards are in here both for very specific reasons. Herald of the Arclight, of course, is just basically a walking Solemn Judgment, which is never a bad thing. And the ability to make it off of a Cyber Petite Angel and a Herald of the Orange Light is really, really good. And also, it's a level 4, and that's relevant because you can constantly summon Herald of the Arclight back with the Ritual Sanctuary, so that's freaking awesome. Like, being able to basically summon a Solemn Judgment every turn is pretty hard to get around, in my opinion. So having Herald of the Arclight as an option is pretty nice. And then we also have one copy of Coral Dragon in here, because you can make this guy with Herald of the Orange Light and a Manju. And Coral Dragon is a level 6 tuner. Let that sink in for a little bit. It's a level 6 tuner that you can summon, and all of your ritual monsters except Dakini are level 6. What does that tell you? I'm hoping that it must tell you that I'm running Zolkin, if you already didn't see it in the frame a little bit ago. Yeah, this card helps you make Zolkin, which in my opinion is freaking stupid in this deck. Being able to make Herald of Perfection and Crystal Wing, your opponent is like, unless they have multiple like Kaijus and Darkles and Raigekis, they're not going to get around your board. So that's pretty freaking good. So yeah, we have one copy of Coral Dragon. Then, of course, we have the obligatory Zolkin that I accidentally showed off in a frame, but that's okay. We have Zolkin, we have Crystal Wing, we have Void Ogre, and then we have Spark Dragon for the Zolkin cards, because, yeah, they're all just really good Dragon Synchros to summon off of Zolkin, so that's pretty neat. We have these guys. Then for the last synchro, I have one copy of Cypher and Omega because this card is broken. Like, you can still make this with any of your level 6 rituals and Herald of the Orange Light, and just, again, Omega's a really, really strong card, so why not run it? Finally, for the last card in the extra, we have one copy of Norden. Now, this card is pretty cool because, of course, just we know the regular Norden shenanigans that can happen. But the thing is, Norden is a fairy as well, so you do have the ability to constantly recur Norden if you need to from your graveyard with Ritual Sanctuary. And that's pretty freaking cool. Like, having the ability to get a free +2 off of Ritual Sanctuary every turn as an option is, I mean, if that doesn't sound good to you guys, then I don't know what rock you're living under, because that is a freaking broken thing that this card can do. So that's pretty cool, and that will round off our entire 15-card main deck. Or, I said main deck, I mean 15-card extra deck. You cannot run a 15-card main deck. Am I stupid? I think I'm losing brain cells as I'm progressively doing Yugi tubing, but I don't know. I might be just getting retarded. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'll end it off of that weird joke. Yeah, this has been the Cyber Angel deck profile from me. I hope you guys all very much did enjoy the video, and I'm hoping that you guys look all forward to some pretty cool deck profiles that I'm going to get out in the future. Hint, the deck profiles that I'm going to be posting very soon are all going to be old, updated deck profiles that I haven't done in maybe a year or more. So yeah, you guys are going to see some pretty old school deck profiles on the channel very soon, and I hope you guys all look forward to that, and I hope you guys as always love this video. And as usual, this is QRem from the Trinity of Lift, and I'll see all of you guys later. Also, before I leave and hit the end part of this video, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties again because my phone overheats, but whatever. Peace out, guys.